What's good? Trouble T Roy. Hit, don't get hit, boxing talk. And it goes. Some good fights this weekend. Pretty good fights, pretty good cards this weekend. I think the highlight fight of the weekend, in my opinion, was Tszyu versus Brian Mendoza for I believe the WBO title, which Charlo actually was stripped of once he fought Canelo Alvarez at 168 for the undisputed championship there. WBO decided to strip Charlo of that belt as soon as the first bell rang for that fight, which was interesting. But it made sense considering that Tszyu was supposed to be Jermell Charlo's first mandatory fight for that belt and his first defense for the undisputed title at 154. And Jermell Charlo had to sit that one out based on or because of a supposed injury. I believe a hand injury or something like that. Pretty interesting, you know. He's good. He gets mandated to defend his WBO title and suddenly has a hand injury. But as soon as he gets word that he could fight Canelo Alvarez, all of a sudden you hear nothing else about that hand injury. I don't think I heard maybe no more than maybe one or two times that his hand injury had been brought up since the Canelo fight became a thing for Jermell Charlo. So I thought that was interesting. But that's a whole nother story. Tszyu, he looked good out there. I don't know much about him. I've seen him fight a couple times over the last couple years. Never really followed him. I will say that I didn't really see, when I did watch him, I didn't see much out of him. I've seen a good fighter. But from what I do understand, that he doesn't have that many fights. And from what I do understand from people who have really followed him, like since, you know, his early start or his start to his career, earlier in his career, that he has been growing as a fighter and, improving as a fighter. That's why I keep hearing from a lot of people who who have been following Tszyu. So what I saw yesterday was a really good fighter. I was pretty impressed with what I saw. Right now, I think this probably would be the time for Jermell to go ahead and fight him. I think this would be the time because the only thing I could see right now, if Tszyu is, which he clearly is getting better, and he's still young and still doesn't have that many fights yet. One person on BDA put it pretty well. I don't know if it was BDA himself. I forget who was saying this, but they said, no, it was somebody on BDA's panel. They said they made a good point with just a few words. They said Tszyu, he's learning on the job. And from what it looked like and from what I've heard about him in the past, that sounds like what's going on. So if that's the case, that just means Tszyu is only going to get better. So from what I've seen, very patient fighter, picks his shots very well, has real clean power shots. He has a really nice uppercut. He has a really nice 1-2. He's strategic with his shots. It seems like he doesn't just rush in there. He doesn't overshoot or overuse shots. He doesn't throw religiously just because it's something like a lot of fighters get in a situation and just kind of do things that, you know, just start throwing things that probably shouldn't be thrown at a time because it could probably get you hurt. It seemed like he was well aware of Mendoza's power, which he actually took a few shots that he took clean, and it seemed to not bother him. So I'm not sure if Mendoza was ever really hurting him. He didn't. Tszyu, it didn't seem like he was hurt when he did get hit, and and Tszyu, I never saw. I did see the highlights too, by the way. So I didn't get to see the whole fight. Only saw round 1 through 6, but I did get to see the highlights, and that's how I'm kind of, basing off the rest of my knowledge of the fight. But yeah, like I said, very patient, strategic, real smooth. Defense was decent. I think with a fighter like Mendoza, his style, I think the defense that he was using was pretty. I think it was pretty well used. A lot of shots he was able to kind of roll off of them. Yeah, good footwork. Wasn't much footwork that he needed to use, but the footwork was there enough for him to create distance when he knew shots were coming. Overall, good, great fighter as far as I've seen. Probably gonna be, if Jermell doesn't beat him at this point. I'm not sure who will beat him right now, especially, like I said, if he's continuing to work on the craft. I gained a lot of respect for Tszyu, and I would like to see where that fight goes between him and Jermell, because a lot of the things that Tim was doing in this fight, I feel like Jermell will be that fighter to kind of really push him. Like, I think a lot of things that he was able to get away with Brian Mendoza, I believe Jermell won't let him get away with. And I'm only saying this, a lot of people think Jermell is done now because of his fight with Canelo and all that stuff. He's not done. I don't think he was exposed for anything other than not wanting to get hit by Canelo. That was pretty much it. I don't see now him making weight at 154 comfortably, because if we all remember, about a year, over the last couple of years, he had been talking about moving up to 160 when his brother was supposed to be moving up to 168, and when Spence was supposed to be moving up to 154. That was their whole plan, but that for some reason that never happened. Jamal, he's been inactive. Jermell went undisputed and didn't really once he had the call out to fight Tszyu, all of a sudden he got injured, and then Spence, he made the fight with Crawford. They made that happen, and then we see where that went. A lot of things over the last year or two, kind of just what I thought was the original plans, didn't seem to, go through. So I think that's pretty interesting right there. But with Jermell already talking about a couple of years ago that he was going to move up to 160 once his brother moved up, it makes me wonder if now, a couple years later, is Jermell going to have issues going all the way back down to 154 from 168. I mean, that's a pretty big, kind of, difference. Not really, it is, but it isn't. I mean, you don't see too many people bouncing up, going up in weight and jumping and falling right back down to a previous weight class and still having the same effect with their power, their speed, and things like that. A lot of times that kind of weight change, because you're already draining yourself. If you're already draining yourself to make your weight class, and then you go up and allow your body to kind of, adjust to a higher weight class, just to fall right back down to your original weight class that you was already struggling to make, I think that's hard on the body, and a lot of people aren't really the same after that. You know, I mean, you look at I always use Kell Brook as a you know, as a solid example when he went up to fight Triple G, and the only difference between Jermell and Brook is that Jermell didn't take no punishment in the ring, while Brook, he got his face broken. So even mentally, you know, that had to have messed him up for him to drop all the way back down to 147 and fight a champion or a contender, a top contender like Spence, who was also coming in as a really strong opponent in the weight at 147. You know, so that's the difference between the two. But even still, the body is going to wear and tear. How it's going to wear and tear jumping from weight class to weight class like that. I think even Canelo couldn't jump right back down to 160 now, especially now because he's been at 168 for this long now. But, you know, every little bit of time going forward doesn't matter with stuff like that. So that's the only thing about that. But, yeah, so we'll see if Jermell decides to go back down to 154. He says he's going to. He says he wants to. He said after his fight, he made it clear he seemed to make it clear that he wants to fight Crawford, which I think at this point that fight is dead after what he just did against another undisputed champion in Canelo. I don't think anybody's interested in seeing him versus Crawford now. You know, not as interested as they was before that happened when Crawford was calling out Jermell. Even Crawford himself said he doesn't care about fighting Jermell now either. He said he ain't fighting Jermell now. He's just going for Canelo or whatever other fight brings him money. So who knows with that whole thing. But yeah, as far as Tszyu and Jermell Charlo, the way I think that fight will go, or not even the way I think it will go, but I think a lot of things that Mendoza was able to, or a lot of things that Mendoza wasn't able to accomplish with Tszyu, I think Charlo would have better chances of doing so, because I think Charlo's style is a little harder than Mendoza's, where I do believe Charlo would use his jab a lot better, because him being a longer fighter, you know, I always like the way both Charlos they utilize their jab, especially Jamal, but both of them have very well worked out jabs that they are good with using to set up big shots with. And I mean, I think the power shots that Mendoza was able to land on Tszyu, I think if Jermell was to hit him with those same shots or similar shots, I think Jermell would be able to hurt Tszyu a lot more, because another thing I heard on BDA boxing, somebody else also pointed out was, I think we all know that, and I do agree with this because I've been saying the same as well as a lot of people that I know, was that Jermell, although he's not the best boxer and he is known to get outboxed, well, at least in a lot of his most recent fights, his last few fights, he's been known to get outboxed even for 12 rounds or so. But he is also a guy, even if he is getting outboxed, all he needs is one good shot on you to change all that. So I believe that's another thing that Tszyu would have to watch out for, because as Tszyu boxed, I think Tszyu would have to be more aggressive and really on the pedal more than he was with Mendoza, where he had Mendoza kind of coming at him more than, during at least most of the fight that I did see, Mendoza was coming to Tszyu, or they were kind of meeting in the middle to trade, or at least Mendoza wanted to make Tszyu trade, but Tszyu had great timing and landing and coming in between shots. But someone like Charlo, who also likes to trade as well, but when it's time to trade, he does like to trade. But somebody like Charlo, who's gonna sit there and try to set you up with that jab a lot more, it'll just be interesting, you know. I think Tszyu will have to force Charlo to really fight him to make it a better position for Tszyu to really capitalize. It's kind of a weird fight. It's hard to really picture. Because Tszyu, it don't seem like Tszyu is very he's not extremely active. Because like I said, he picks his shots a lot. Well, at least from what I seen last night and from what I've seen before, he picks his shots. You know, he picks his shots very well. But with somebody like Charlo, I feel like you have to be the aggressor. You can't let Charlo be the aggressor, because that's when Charlo is more of like a momentum fighter, where you start letting him go, he's going to, you know, he's going to take off. So, I mean, it's an interesting fight. Like I said, with Tszyu still learning, that might be something they work on if that fight is made, which if he's smart and he learned from somebody like, you know, some of the greats, he's already been preparing for that fight. You know what I'm saying? You know, so it should be interesting. Let's see if let's see if Jermell makes the fight. Let's see if he comes back down. Like you said, I know he's taking the break. He got that money now. He's going to enjoy spending that for the next, probably the rest of this year. Probably, I don't know. We'll see how he does, because a lot of people, after a Canelo fight, they take long breaks. The only difference with him and a lot of other people is that he didn't get knocked out. That fight was basically a tune-up fight for Charlo, as well as for Canelo. Seeing that, I mean, Charlo did get hit one good time that, you know, he took that knee. But the rest of the fight, I mean, all it was a jogging session at that point. All he did was jog for the rest of the fight. He got him a good, nice little jog out of the fight. He ain't get hit no more after that. Not to the point it would change, you know, take too much out of him. So he should be ready to fight again soon. So let's see how he does. Let's see if he wants to fight again soon. You know, Tszyu, he didn't take much damage. He did take some shots, but I mean, that's really up to how he feels, you know. So we'll see what happens with that, you know. I think it's a great fight. I think it's the best fight to make at 54 for sure. Or if not, if I keep saying Jamal. If Jermell doesn't decide what he wants to do soon, I'm pretty sure Crawford might actually go up there, try to take that WBO belt, so he could maybe make Jermell and Terrence Crawford more of an interesting fight again. I still think it's a great fight. I think it's an interesting fight, but like I said, he kind of killed the whole, you know, the whole energy for the fight with what he did with, you know, what he did with Canelo. A lot of people ain't gonna trust Jermell after that performance. So that's kind of make or break at this point. Jermell really has to come back with some heat and make us forget. I mean, I don't really care at this point. I knew that Jermell was gonna win. I didn't think he was just gonna not put up a fight though, and that's what does it. I think that's what did it for everybody. So, you know, we'll see what happens. But yeah, congrats to Tim Tszyu for his big win. I think it was a big win. His biggest win, obviously. First title defense is successful. 12 round, I believe it was a unanimous decision. So, yeah, let's go and see what's next for him. And, hey, good year of boxing. We almost done. All right. Your boy, Trouble T. Roy. Don't Get Hit Boxing Talk. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and all that good shit. All right, y'all. Deuces.
Gotta have legal defense, the flow kills. The guilty bystander proceeds with no guilt. All things forward, the movement got no chill. You dislike, no love lost, no spill. You heard it here from that foolie from Go Ill. Was such a dope sounder to have you on tilt. Backhanded beats for your automobile. Like this, I mean like so. You mean like Black Rob spoke like whoa. Like that, I believe we broke through it. New shit that rewrites hope. 10 times in a row, rewind.